So today I'm just going to go through some of the basic principles around Pilates, about finding our neutral position, about the breathing, and gradually working on our extension and rotation control. So let's just start in standing. So just doing our pelvic tilt. So when I'm talking about pelvic tilts, I'm talking about tucking under your tail and sticking your bottom out. So this movement here, as you tuck your tail under, just be conscious to try not to overclench your bottom and just try and use your tummy muscles at the front just to pull up. So it's just a small movement, tilting forwards and backwards. So in Pilates we talk about a neutral pelvic position. So that means halfway between that more arched position and the tucked under position, so halfway between those two. So once we have that position, we feel that we're in neutral. Let's just think about the rib cage. So often the rib cage when we look at people tends to be a little bit flared. So if we can just drop the rib cage down, then it's easier to try and engage these abdominal muscles. So if you just let your ribs just, instead of being flared up, just let the ribs just drop and then open up the shoulders. And let's just take a nice relaxed breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. So your weight should be nice and equal through both feet. So just nice and relaxed in through the nose and out through the mouth. And again, in and out. So try and send that breath down and out to the side of the rib cage. So take a big breath in. And if you want, if it helps, just put your hands either side, either this way or just folding the hands across and just feeling the breath coming into your ribs. Sorry, and out. So you should feel your hands just moving as that breath in enters the ribs. So your ribs are a little bit like a bucket handle, so there should be this kind of movement out and in, okay, as you take that breath in. And then in Pilates we also use a kind of breathing down into the stomach as well. So if you just breathe down and just allow your stomach just to slightly bulge out and then breathing out. But we're not changing that neutral position that we have. So breathe in and out and in and out. Okay, so we're going to look at that same idea just on hands and knees. So when you come down onto your hands and knees, we want to find that neutral position again. So just doing your pelvic tilts forwards and backwards to try and find that neutral position. Once you have your neutral position, you're getting that nice flat back position, and we want to think about what the neck and shoulders are doing. Often the head ends up being down here, so imagine you're like a pole or a dowel down your back, and your head and your bottom should be able to reach the top of the dowel here and here. Okay, so just bring that chin in. So it's almost, imagine you've got a tennis ball just underneath the chin. So we're maintaining that position. Now we want to keep our neutral position, we want to keep the back like this. Often when we start to move a leg, the back will go into an arch, okay, or we might rotate, or we might shift the weight across to one side. So we want to try and avoid doing that. So let's just start by just extending the right leg out, keeping the back and the neck all nice and still and bringing it back. And now repeat on the left side. Right, so we're not taking the leg off the floor, we're just sliding it along, coming back. And just switch. And now we're going to add the opposite arm. So the opposite arm is coming up, thumbs pointing up to the ceiling like you're shaking hands. Roughly in line with the ear if you can. Okay, and again we're trying to keep that back nice and flat. We're trying to keep the hip over the knee. Okay, and then we're going to progress this by lifting the leg a little bit now. So from this position, we're going to lift that leg up now and just hold it. And again, not too much so that we're rotating the pelvis. This hip stays over this knee and we switch. The eyes are looking down. And just keep alternating that position. And let's just do one more and just hold it there and bring it back down. And then we're going to just stretch by just walking the hands forward and just stretching out our backs, letting the heads rest down for a moment and breathing nice and relaxed. Now going over onto your stomach, we again just want to feel that we're getting that neutral position. So we're just going to support our head with our hands. I want you to do your pelvic tilts again. So often when you're lying on your stomach, particularly if you've naturally arched your back, sometimes your back is going to go into quite an arch. So in order to try and minimise that, you want to just push your pubic bone into the mat a little bit and just let the ribs lift up. So now we're going to try and lift up the right leg, but we want to avoid the back going into an arch position. So try not to let yourself go into an arch. So stay in that neutral position, and we're just going to hover that right leg and just lift it a little bit. Try not to over tense your back muscles as well. So just alternate little small lifts. And try not to hold your breath. Often when you're starting a new exercise program, you're concentrating, so you tend to hold your breath a little. So just alternate lifts. So I'm not lifting very high off the ground. So Pilates isn't just about working kind of the core muscles. We're working the bum muscles, the hip muscles, the muscles around the shoulders, the shoulder blades. So you should feel that everything is having a little bit of a workout. Okay, so we're going to progress this by adding in the arms like we did on hands and knees. So just let your forehead rest down on the mat. Just tuck your chin down a little bit. Okay, with your hands I want you to draw your shoulder blades down your back, so you're kind of allowing your shoulder blades to come away from your ears. So that automatically slightly lifts your chest up away from the mat. And now we're going to lift that right arm and the left leg. So we're working that diagonal as we did on hands and knees. And then switch and switch. So small little lifts. We're watching that we don't overly arch the back. We're watching that we don't end up with the shoulders by the ears. So small little lifts. Nice and controlled. Great. Now we're going to pop the hands underneath the shoulders and just stretch back and just stretch out the back, because sometimes after you've been lying down on your stomach, your back can get a little bit stiff, so just stretch out. And then another exercise that can be nice just to stretch out the back is keep the hands just forward and just let your hips just drop forwards and back, just opening up the back and the front of the hips. So just to where you feel comfortable, the elbows are staying straight. And just nice and easy, just stretch out. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and lie down on our backs. So let your head just rest down on your cushion. So lying down on your back, again we're going to focus on that neutral position. So bring your heels in a little closer to your bottom. Place your hands on your pelvis, and we're just going to do those pelvic tilts again. So squashing the back, letting the back arch. So small movements. So for this class, we're going to keep the head down on the mat. But if you don't have any issues with osteoporosis or neck pain, as you get stronger, you should be able to progress to lifting the head up for some of the Pilates classes. Okay, so let's find that neutral position, so halfway between the flat and the arch. Let's place the hands on the rib cage and just let the ribs just sink. And again, just taking a few nice breaths into the ribs. And then just nod the head, so you're just lengthening the back of the neck. It's almost like your eyes are looking into your cheekbones. And we just let the arms just relax down by your side and just opening up, making sure we're not shrugged up. And just breathe nice and relaxed. We're going to just do some hip openers. So that means just letting that right knee just open out to the side and come back. We're going to try and keep our left side nice and still. So it's almost imagining that we've got a glass of water sitting on that left knee. And just don't force it, just go where you can feel comfortably to go. Now we're going over to the left side. So again, just out and in. So we're controlling that rotation by trying to keep that right side nice and still. And then back to the middle. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is just move our arms. So we're going to bring the hands up so the palms are facing towards the ceiling. We're just going to work a little bit on our shoulder blades. So we're going to draw the shoulder blades down into the mat, but try not to let the ribs pop up, and then reach the arms up. So the shoulder blades are coming away from the mat, shoulder blades going down. So small movements up and down. Keeping those ribs still, staying in that neutral position. We're going to keep the shoulder blades down. I'm going to turn the palms so that they face towards the knees. I'm going to take the arms overhead. Now the tendency is sometimes now that the ribs will start to stick out and we'll lose that neutral position. So we're going to focus on just trying to keep those ribs down, and that so you might not be touching the floor, and particularly if your shoulders are stiff, you won't be touching the floor. So you're just getting to where you feel comfortable to go. So just feel where you can control before the ribs start to want to move or your shoulders are feeling overstretched, and come back. So just forwards and back. And again, nice relaxed breath, not holding your breath. Shoulder blades should feel nice and relaxed. And we're going to keep the arms there. So we're going to bring up the right leg now. And keeping your arms nice and still, I want you just to tap your right toe down towards the floor and then come back. Now the tendency is as you tap your foot down, the back is going to want to arch. So I want you to imagine you've got a small marble just underneath your lower back, and you're trying to stay in contact with that marble as you tap your foot down. And again, try and breathe out. Breathe in to bring the leg back, and out, and back. Now we're going to add some arm movement. So as we tap that leg down, we're going to take the arms overhead. So we're controlling the ribs and the pelvis now. And again, tap, and back. And you might feel the hip muscles starting to work a little bit too, and back. And tap, and back. But we're controlling the pelvis, trying to stay neutral. And one more. Okay, and we're going to switch sides. Place that foot down. Check if you want that you're still in that neutral pelvic position. The ribs are down. Okay, bring that other leg into tabletop. And again, we're just going to tap. So let's just do the leg first. So try not to just flex the knee. So just bringing the heel towards the down. You want to be almost like reaching slightly away with that leg. So it's the thigh that's moving rather than the knee that's bending. Okay, the other side is nice and stable. When you're comfortable, add in the arms. So as the leg goes down, we bring the arms overhead and come back. And making sure, again, we're staying in contact with that little marble. And then one more. And then slowly lower the arms down and lower that foot down. So let's bring the right leg into what's called a half tabletop. If we have both legs up in the same position, it would be full tabletop. So let's send that leg out and then lower it down and feel again where you can go without that back arching. So again, you might not be touching the floor, and then bring that leg back out. So we're staying nice and controlled through this pelvis as we go out and in. Okay, so small movements again. Okay, so this time we're going to just add in one arm. So this time as the leg goes out, we're going to take the left arm back and come back. And again, out and back. And again, just to where you feel comfortable to send that shoulder, so you're controlling the ribs, controlling the pelvis. And one more. And back. So let's switch sides, so the other leg up. Okay, so we're going again from that tabletop position to extending that leg out and down and coming back. So try and breathe out, control your pelvis. Okay, we're going to add in that opposite arm. So the right arm going back as the left leg goes down and back. And nice and slow and controlled, so you have time to really focus on what you're doing. And if you find it hard to think about the back, the arch in the back, just think about just gently drawing in the area below your belly button, or taking the skin around your waistband just slightly away from your waistband. So you're drawing down towards the mat. And one more. Okay, and now what we're going to do is a bridge, and we call this an articulating bridge because we're going to roll up into the bridge. So you want to just bring in your heels close to your bottom. You don't want to make sure that you haven't got too much of a pillow underneath your head for this, otherwise your chin gets really pushed forward. So a small head support is okay. The shoulders should be nice and open, and we're going to start by pelvic tilting. So we flatten the lower back down into the mat and then slowly peel up. Imagine lifting each part of the spine all the way up. Lifting the hips up till you get to your shoulder blades. Now occasionally what people tend to do is flare the ribs here, so just keep those ribs down and then slowly peel back down and then releasing at the bottom. And again, so slowly rolling up. Good. And I almost imagine that I'm pushing my knees forward over my ankles at the top and then slowly peel back down. So trying to think about each part of the spine. So sometimes when people are quite stiff in their lower backs or certain parts of the backs, they kind of go up in kind of a chunk rather than each part of the spine. Once we're at the top, we want to have our pelvis nice and level. So we don't want to have one hip dropped, or we don't want to have the hips over to one side. And then slowly peeling back down and releasing back. And as we get stronger, we'll be able to progress this to picking up the legs. So taking one foot off, but at the moment we'll just focus on rolling up and down. And then when we come up to this one, we're going to just stay. Now we're going to hold that, and now we're just going to lift alternate heels up. So your heels are just coming up away from the mat, but our pelvis stays nice and level. Try and go up on all your toes rather than rolling to the little toe. And you're just staying in position. And it doesn't matter if it's a little bit jerky on your heel as it's coming down. Just keep your pelvis nice and level. Okay, and now we're going to slowly make our way all the way back down and release the pelvis. And anytime your back starts to feel stiff, just do a few pelvic tilts just to loosen it up again. Let's bring the right leg into tabletop position now. We're going to work a little bit on our rotation control. So we're going to bring the left arm up. So this time we're going to take the right leg out to the side. So I want you to imagine, you know, on the left knee, you've got a glass of water that's sitting nice and still, and take your right knee and your ankle out to the side and come back. If I go too far, my knee's going to want to come with me, so I've got to avoid that. So just going out and in. I don't want to push it over here either. I want to just keep it in the same place and just take that right leg out and in. Keep that left knee as still as you can. Okay, now I'm going to add in the left arm. So the left arm is going to go out to the side as my right knee goes out. So I'm controlling rotation at the top and at the bottom. So small movements. And as you get good at these, they can be easily progressed. So what we would do with this one is we'd bring the other leg into tabletop. So we might be Keeping one leg still as we take the other leg out. So for the moment, let's keep that left foot down. Breathing out and in. So we're taking that left arm with that right leg and back, and just to where you feel comfortable, and back. All right, let's switch sides. So bring that left leg up now. We're going to bring the right arm up, and we're just going to start by just taking that left leg out and in. And again, keep that right knee nice and still. Knee and ankle move together. Glue that right bottom down onto the mat. Once you feel comfortable, you can take your right arm as well. So we've got the leg and the arm going together. So we're controlling the rotation. And again, watch the breathing, try not to breath hold. And then slowly lowering down. Okay, so for the next exercise, we're going to just do some practice coming into tabletop. So we'll just see how this feels. So we're going to bring the right leg into tabletop. Now the tendency is for the back to really arch as you pick that left leg up. So you've got to really focus a little bit more on your control as you bring your second leg up. We're going to lower that left leg back down and then lower the right leg. So let's repeat that again. So right leg comes up into half tabletop. Really conscious not to let the back arch or really tense in your upper body. Control that as abdominals bring up the left leg. Lower the left leg down and then the right leg down without letting the back arch. This time let's pick up the left leg. Okay, without allowing that back to arch, the right leg comes up. We lower the right leg back down and now the left leg. Left leg comes up. Control the pelvis as you bring the right leg lowers down, left leg comes up. Just do that one more time. So left leg comes up, right leg comes up to meet it, lower that right leg down and left leg down. And let's just take the legs, knees together and just let the knees just roll nice and easy side to side. Just let your back stretch out. So the last thing I want to just talk about is just working a little bit on the hip muscles at the side, because they're often an area that we want to focus on, trying to build some strength. They're really important muscles for when you're standing on one leg, that control your pelvic position and don't let any tipping of the pelvis, let the pelvis drop to one side or the other. And also important for anybody with knee issues or ankle issues that we keep these muscles in the hips nice and strong. So let's roll onto our side. And we're going to just support our head, or you could, if you prefer, to lie all the way down. So whichever you feel comfortable with. So just take a moment, just have the hand on the hip, and I want you just to do your pelvic tilts here again, finding that neutral position. Once you have that, I want you to feel that you're almost pushing this hip away, and we're just going to lift that top leg up. Once you have that position, if you feel comfortable, you can just let your head rest down. Okay, and we're just imagining this leg is nice and long. Now the tendency often is for this hip to go backwards, okay, or this leg to come forward. So I want you to be really conscious to keep that hip pushed forward and long. So we're not using these muscles here to lift the leg. And we're just doing small little lifts up and down towards the ceiling. Okay, so you should feel that you're working this area of the hip. So making sure we're not bunching into this side. Almost imagine that you've got that marble now underneath the waist and you're not pressing into the marble here. Okay, now we're going to make small little circles with this leg. And again, just controlling the leg and not allowing it to come too far forward. Making sure we're going back into the circle, but not letting ourselves go into an arch. And now change direction. And lowering that leg down. So let's go over to the other side so you can bring your support and your head cushion with you. Okay, so support your head if you want up here or go all the way down. Find that hip position Okay, so again, do your pelvic tilts, find that neutral position. Okay, push that hip away. As you lift that leg, make sure it's not to come forward. Make sure that the hip is rolled forward and it hasn't rolled back. Occasionally people will do this right against the wall, so it kind of keeps the hip pushed forward, or against the couch so that the hip can't roll back. Okay, and then we're just going to lift up and down. So small movements without bunching into here. Imagine your marble underneath the opposite side, so small lifts up and down. Okay, let's go into our circles. And then circle the other way. And place that leg down. Okay, let's come back onto hands and knees. And we're just going to bring our hands forward again and just stretch forwards and back. And just loosening out the back again. And then walk the hands back towards the knees and slowly come all the way up into standing. So let's finish off just by focusing back to that neutral position in standing. So doing our pelvic tilts here again. So tucking under, then sticking out the bottom. Okay, once you're happy, you have your neutral, just open up the shoulders and then just focus again, just breathing into these ribs. So in through the nose and out through the mouth. And then in and out, and one more in and out. So just a short class going through some of the basic principles of Pilates, and once you've mastered these, then there's lots more classes in the library that you can progress to once you feel that you have got the basics and you're able to keep that stability within the pelvis and the ribs.